much for joining us for another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. We're so grateful you're here. I'm Tim Sohn with Sohn Social Media Solutions, and I'm here with my amazing trusty co-host, Jim Fuse. Take it away.
And good afternoon, everyone. Jim Fuse with Fusion Marketing, and we're very excited to have Kate, and I hope I don't butcher her last name, Chernis.
Yeah, you got it. Rhymes with furnace.
From the CEO of Lately, and we're about to learn about how AI can turn your content creation on its flippin' head, as Tim said. So, Kate, tell us about yourself. And how do you end up doing this?
Thank you so much, Tim and Jim. It's great to meet you and see you in real life. I love that and be, live-ish. So I should confess that in another life, I was a rock and roll DJ broadcasting to 20 million listeners a day for XM satellite radio.
Oh, that is too cool. That is.
Thank you.
I'm jealous now.
Yeah. So my husband is always like, can I have the nice voice? Like, where's the nice voice? Because that voice is a different voice.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, so fast forward, somehow I got out of radio and into marketing. And then one day I had Walmart as my client when I owned an agency.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It was amazing. And we were working on this project where the National Disability Institute had brought me in. They were collaborating with Walmart, United Way Worldwide. They had AT&T there, Bank of America, the IRS. So some very big players, but unlikely players. All of their franchises were involved, and then tens of thousands of small and medium businesses. And the reason everyone was coming together was that Walmart had this piece of software called My Free Taxes, which this is like kind of boring nerd stuff, but maybe you've heard of it. So it was tax prep software. Woo! And it was designed to help lift the poor out of poverty through financial tax credits and income financial education empowerment. There we go. It's a lot to say. And what I did was thought, wow, what a mess. This is a lot of people trying to do some really good thing, but boy, it's super unorganized. And I built this one hell of a spreadsheet. And my spreadsheet system got us 130% ROI year over year for 3 years. So
wow.
A spreadsheet alone could do that. And the power of Kate Chernis.
And yes, and my gusto. But if you really care, the which is part of the story. So what I saw was that there was an interesting thing about writing happening, particularly where nobody wanted to do the writing, people hated writing, they were very bad at writing. Everybody, this was some of the top marketers in the world were just like, I don't want to do this. And they were hiring out other consultants to do that. And then anything we were creating, let's say a press release or a blog, for example, it was just collecting dust. There would be one shout out about it. And then it was a big waste of time of all the effort that had gone into creating it. And then this was a decade ago. So social just started to be, interesting and powerful, or the understanding of it. So getting Walmart's approval on thousands of social posts was yeah, forget it. But then at the same time, if we had social or even the blogs we had, how could we possibly disseminate that content out to all tens of thousands of players in a way where they could then localize it on their own ends to tailor to their own audience, right? So that's what my spreadsheets did really. So I basically said, okay, well, let's take this blog. Every sentence has been worked over. We'll take each sentence, turn it into a social post, drive traffic back to the product. We'll have hundreds of social posts from each piece of content we've ever created. And then here's how we can all use it. And I developed a system for localizing. So the idea is everybody working together amplifies a voice exponentially more than one brand ever could possibly dream of, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I know so many business owners, no matter the size of the business, get overwhelmed with social media, figuring out what kind of post to create, let alone finding the time to do it all. So we're excited to talk more about how artificial intelligence can turn content creation on its flippin' head. So first of all, we want to thank all of you guys for watching. We really appreciate you being here, taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me, Jim, and Kate. We want to encourage you guys to subscribe to the Tim and Jim Show YouTube channel. We would love to see you there, just like what Kate is doing right now. Kate, we should hire you to be our official pointer or something. And let us know what questions you have for Kate as we roll along with the show here. So Jim, do you want to take our first question, Mr.
Absolutely.
Producer?
So what is artificial intelligence?
Yeah. So that is the most important question, right? So artificial intelligence, as far as I'm concerned, and that's where I have some knowledge, is the idea of machines actually learning, so without the humans. So there's two kinds of AI in the world now. There's what's called pseudo AI, which requires the machines to continue to learn with a human kind of overseeing it. And then there's autonomous AI. So that's the machine actually learning on its own, like the stuff that movies are made of, right? Where the robot has its own idea to like kill the humans or something. And what's really exciting in our space is when it comes to creative content writing, it's a fairly wide open space. And part of that is because I know that folks have really focused in marketing on two areas. One is content management, so like a Hootsuite or a Buffer, so creating content and the idea of pushing it out to places and seeing what happens. And then there's other tools like Domo who really focus on the analytics side. And then there's some tools that obviously do both of those things. But what no one has been paying attention is to the thing that comes first, which is the writing, like the content itself, right? So this is the radio sailor in me, but like you can't polish a turd, right? Meaning if the thing that you're starting with ain't no good, it doesn't matter how well you're able to manage it or what the analytics are telling you, right? You got to start from the beginning. So this is where Lately's AI really focuses to help folks out.
Wow. Tim, where'd you go?
We're back. We're back.
He's alone out there.
Tim is playing with the cameras. I just taught him how to do it, and now he's.
I'm learning. I'm
going
learning.
crazy.
Well, one of the best things, by the way, that I learned in radio is mistakes and silence are so powerful, and it's an instant like pay attention for the listener, right? So
yes,
everybody. Yeah. So Kate, what are some things that business owners who get overwhelmed when it comes to content creation on social media? What can they do to help reduce that overwhelm?
I think the first thing is stop trying to do everything. So just focus on one idea, one channel, for example. So if it's Facebook, if it's Twitter, I would say LinkedIn at the moment because it's having a very, very good moment. Organic reach goes a long way on LinkedIn. And so,
LinkedIn.
There you know. Yeah, LinkedIn. Give us all video access. So what I would recommend is like just give yourself a task. I'm going to publish one interesting thing. Interesting is important every day on LinkedIn. And think about what that means really. So commit to doing one thing every day, and you have to be entertaining is the bottom line, right? You don't need to like put on a video or something. You don't have to put on a halftime show, but you do have to say something compelling or interesting. One way to make sure that you're doing that is frankly to read what you wrote out loud. So if it's in any way cumbersome to say, it's probably cumbersome to read. And, if you're not smiling when you're reading it, it's probably boring.
Well, I love that.
Well,
I'm going to start doing that.
And I like the fact, people talk about the 4 E's of social media, and, being entertaining is definitely one. In fact, sometimes I was meeting with a client yesterday. They said that their boss, when he does his funny videos, they get more engagement than any other type of post. But it's like, well, are you getting any business out of it?
Right,
and
exactly.
So sometimes don't get so caught up in being funny and cute. You got to remember, ultimately, it's not about putting on, like you said, a halftime show.
Right, without the
That's right.
One specific halftime show is we're all imagining, I'm sure.
Yes. So Kate, how can AI help reduce the overwhelm?
So the way that we do it at Lately is by helping you transform long form content like podcasts or blogs or webinars, any kind of content, long form content that you can basically think of. And what we do is if you paste a link to a blog, for example, into Lately, we instantly will go out and we'll look at every year, the past year of every social post you've ever produced and published on any of your channels that you've connected to Lately. And we start to examine those social posts for the most engaging content you've created and published. And then we look at the words literally that you wrote, and we look at the patterns of those words, and we build a model based on that to really help focus on and learn what has your audience responded to. Like, so for example, for us, I was just looking a couple of weeks ago, the word thank had 55 engagements in 7 posts.
Wow.
So thank is a valuable word for us. Our audience really reacts to that, and we need to think about using that more in our content, right?
Oh, wow.
So once we're able to ingest a piece of content from you, like a blog, you push a button in 1.8 seconds, I'll turn it into, let's say, 36 amazing social posts. They're pretty amazing out of the gate, but what we do encourage is humans and AIs playing nicely together, right? So this is super important, and for people to not freak out about when it comes to robots, and at least in marketing in any ways. The human provides the emotion. You don't want to take that out of the picture, right? That's what makes us smile and connect and essentially buy things. So Lately's job is to start you at third base, and the human's job gets you to home plate, right? So we ask that you take a look at those 36 posts, put a little of your own magic on it. And then, for example, let's bulk schedule them out once every other week for the next 70 some odd weeks, and tag whoever's involved. So what happens there is a couple things. You continually drive traffic over time back to that blog, for example. And if you're tagging people, if you tag me all week, I'm going to get a little bit annoyed, right? I'm just going to be like spam city. But if you do it once in a while, guess what? I'll reshare your content every time. So you get exponential amplification again, right? And so that's one way. And then we also give our customers the ability to then take that content and syndicate it out. So one way is with employee engagement, right? So it's the idea of your employees actually celebrating and talking about the brand, the company that they love working for. Because if they don't, you have like a bigger problem, right? But helping you tout the message. So like that's what my employees do. You know, you can see them talking about Lately all the time, and it's because we're using Lately to do that.
Kate, can you have...
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim. Kate, do you have any suggestions? You know, I've worked with businesses that their employees are excited about the brand, but that they work for, but they are not inclined to share on their own social media and that kind of thing. Do you have any tips for business owners that are kind of in that situation?
Yeah. So number one, the boring is probably a big part of it. Like nobody wants to put boring content on their own personal channels, of course, right?
Of course.
So that means as a leader internally, you have to do some internal marketing and make sure that your team is like loves you and wants you to win. And this doesn't just happen. Like I have to do things to make sure my team feels that way. Like I include them in a lot of the decisions. I share a lot of behind the scenes stuff with them, really empowering them to not only understand how Lately is working, but give them, leverage in that success as well. But then, the way that Lately works is we create content that can either be published instantly on behalf of an employee or in a holding pattern. So then they can actually have access to it themselves, see it, alter it, say, no, I don't want to use this. And you just give them that option. What I would recommend too is, it's the rule, right? The third, a third, a third. So 1/3, where's my mirror here? 1/3, you want it to be content about the company. We are awesome. 1/3, content about something else, something interesting related, like a resource. And then the other third is when you're going out and commenting and liking and resharing. So I think by asking your employees to not always talk about the company,
Right.
That's probably good.
Right.
Yeah, those are some great tips
too. Yeah. I think it really is. It's a culture thing because it's kind of like if you're proud of where you work, why wouldn't you want to share what your company does with your network? It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to buy from you, but it kind of goes back to that whole thing, right? On average, people know at least 150 people in their network, and it's that I can't remember what commercial. I think it was a makeup commercial. And you tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. but I can't tell you how many times, like how many realtors, right? You go in and they post a picture of a house on Facebook, and how many agents you have? Oh, 25. Well, how come there's not 25 shares? Just
Exactly.
little things like that. So that's a
Exactly.
great point.
Yeah, right. And like you said, they're the most powerful advocates because they're the most trusted. Like, of course, if you work at the company, you know more than anyone else, right? One of the other things that I do is I kind of, not forced by any means, but like I request friends with my people on Facebook and Insta and where we are, because I like them genuinely. I actually genuinely love my team, and I know what their lives are like, and I take the time to ask them about that. I mean, every time we have a meeting, if we're not in person, we're on Zoom and we can see each other's faces. And I had to force myself to ask people how they were because, like, I'm busy and I want to get to the point. But wow, the results are much more powerful,
Right.
because sometimes I have to ask people to do things they don't want to do, and it makes it a lot easier.
And does lately, can you post to any social channel, or are there any that you're not able to post to right now?
Not TikTok yet, but that's not our audience. So yeah, we can do Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn personal and company page, YouTube, Twitter, of course, the
Awesome.
main biggies. Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about this, Kate, but how can AI be used when it comes to social media content to make our lives easier? Is there anything else you want to add regarding that?
I think I would just say, like, the important thing to remember about AI is that it's not just automation, it's AI. So, for example, with Lately, think about it like this. You guys have Netflix, right? Everybody have Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay. So Netflix first learned what we all wanted to watch, and then it took that data and started recommending relevant content to us based on that data. And then it took that data and created original content like The Crown, for example, that's now the most watched content on the platform.
My wife loves that show.
There you go, because that's AI. It's not just automation. It learns what your audience wants to hear and talk about. And that's what Lately does as well, right? So that's a big, big difference.
That's a great point. I guess I had never thought about that, right? It's probably was AI. It's like, how come it keeps telling me you might like these shows based on what you watched? Duh,
Yeah.
it's AI.
Yeah.
I thought it was
And we
him telling them.
And that's the thing too, is like, so it's testing the messaging consistently with your audience, right? So that's why our customers started using Lately in ways that we didn't expect, not just for employee advocacy and engagement that you're talking about, but also through social selling. So using it for sales teams, franchise marketing. So like if you're a bank and you've got hundreds of locations and the locations need to talk about local content, but they want that basis of what to say, then the national team can give them that and then they can localize it, right? Or even like executive thought leadership. So making sure that the people at top look smart and are sharing each other's content, or really making use of what you're already doing, right? So I think a lot about PR, like this, for example. We get a lot of inbound, and why should it just evaporate into the ether after this call? I'm going to auto-generate it and market the heck out of it, right?
Right.
Same with, webinars that people do. Like there's just all this gold in what you say. And it's so valuable and it's so much more interesting than check out my podcast. Right?
So a question
true.
then on that too. So are you saying that like Lately could take a look at our show and say, we're going to take this piece and repurpose it as opposed to like the whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. So you can take the show, we'll transcribe it for you automatically, and then it'll automatically start to pull out the sentences that it finds to be the most valuable. It's looking for those keyword patterns as well. Now, with a conversation, it's a little bit janky because it records so's, us, and ums also, right? So you could clean that up before you ran it through the beast. And then the more you publish, whether on Lately or somewhere else, as long as that account is connected to Lately, the more it learns, right? And we also give you, the human, the ability to come in and curate what it's learning, and you can say, pay more attention to this, less attention to that. So it's a big brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to thank everybody again for watching. Hello to Robbie Franco watching over on LinkedIn.
Hey, Robbie.
Isabel, Lauren is watching. Oh, from lately. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren, sweetheart. I may
And
or may not have something to do with that.
and Craig Burns, speaking of the power of employees, right? And Craig Burns says, if you're using their platforms they've developed, why don't you incentivize them to make the company's post?
Wait, I don't understand the question.
I don't either. Craig, can you clarify the question for us?
Oh, it's because they don't have time, right? And they don't want to make a mistake, right? So and plus I would rather them be doing other things. So if I can write all the social posts for them, like it takes a human an average 12 minutes to write one social post. I can write, let's say, somebody do the math, but if I'm giving you what is it, 30 social posts, that would normally take like 4 hours. Is that right? Something like that.
It's close.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can save you that time and get even more benefit, because you can't possibly write as good as my AI brain can.
Right.
Win. Right.
I think it's actually 6 hours. I think I
Thank
just
you.
did the math. Yes.
I was a fiction writing major. That's what automation is for.
So Jim, take the next question.
So Kate, does AI mean the end of the social media manager? I think that's where people get scared sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say a little bit they should be scared, because the management component can be automated, right? I mean, companies already are doing that. It's the little nuances and the strategy that is where the human is the most valuable. So it's like pushing paper around. I mean, if you're just scheduling and pushing paper around, we don't need you know. But if you're making strategic decisions and your ability to, remember I said it's the 1 + 1 = 3 equation. So AI starts you at third base, human gets you to home plate, right? That's the magic. So you want to be the human that has the ability to get that to home plate, right? You want to have that extra something where you know how to put the voice into the content. You understand the little tweaks that'll really take it so much farther. When we're pitching to customers, it's really interesting. Like, oftentimes if we get that social media manager that has those skills right away, she's like, oh my God, you're going to save me 8 hours a week. I need this immediately. Now, if we're talking to the boss and they know that their social media manager is subpar, they're thinking, we're going to replace this person.
Right. And I think that's a great point, because I think what people don't understand, and Tim, I know you and I see it all the time, there's so much to managing social media, and a lot of these people aren't trained to begin with, right? They need to work on their business. So yes, this can help, but also this could be a great way for them to maybe know that, okay, I can outsource to a company because they're using a tool lately that will start to really show results, and really use that person that Kate's talking about, that has the ability to see the big picture. Because one thing is, all these platforms are constantly changing. You got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think also the ability to take the content and understand how the AI is working and apply it to other components in the company. Like, the fun part of marketing is what we want to be doing. Nobody wants to be doing scheduling and like thinking of what to say. The fear of the blank page is real, people, right? Not for me, but for most people. So like, our job is to automate what you hate to do and to free you up to do what you love to do and what hopefully you're best at.
And one thing that I love about lately and about scheduling in advance is that then you can have your content created ahead of time, and then you could focus on engagement with your potential customers and your audience. Because you're not spending all that time creating content, like, day to day, right, Kate?
Yeah, Tim. So thanks for pointing that out, because, by the way, that's a bit of a new idea. So people really are a little bit dinosaur, just thinking that social needs to be instantaneous all the time. And
Right.
You want to have that forethought, the understanding of what's coming and planning, even after the fact, right? So like, even though this, for example, podcast is happening right now, the ability to use it later is going to only help promote your other podcasts, right? It all
Exactly.
works together. And that is a new idea that we have to really educate people on. But it's sort of it's how to get in front of the ball, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. And a few weeks ago, I had a chance to check out Lately with Chris from your team. So I encourage all you guys to check it out. I knew about, you could plug in a website address and all these social media posts would come out, but it's so much more than that. So I encourage you guys to check it out.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Chris, by the way, also former or current, actually, rock and roll DJ, but we used to work together. And I found out that he gave great phone, duh, and is really good at sales.
Awesome. Lori says, yes, the blank page is scary.
Hi, Laurie. It sure is. I've been there too. Here's my number one tip is it's always right in front of you. Again, that's why Lately is so valuable, because we're taking content you've already created. But that's my just general, whenever I'm freaking out about anything, I just think it's right here. Whatever I need, the tools are in front of me, right?
Wow.
And they are.
Absolutely. And Brandy says, I love scheduling posts.
Yes.
Awesome.
Brandy's with the Small Business Center in Carteret Community College in
Hey,
Morehead
Brandy.
City, North Carolina. Yeah.
Great to meet you.
So she has lots of people asking questions about social.
Well, it's complicated. Some of our most high-profile clients, imagine, are consistently asking us for marketing consulting advice, right? And it's because it's a very fluid, liquid thing, and nobody really knows kind of what to do, and it's changing constantly. So it's really important that any social media company or marketing company, whatever it is, has an open forum where people can share their ideas and discuss them. And we really work hard to do that, I think, as you guys know, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Absolutely. And you guys should check out.
Is Kate coming to San Diego?
I'm not coming to San Diego to Social Media Marketing World. My team is going to be there. Yeah. So Luis and Chris will be there. Are you guys going to be there? We'd love to. Okay.
Yes. We're part of the volunteer team. We're on the connections crew. So we say hi to everybody.
Awesome. Hey, Lauren, can you connect Tim and Jim to Luis and Chris, please? Thank you.
Live connecting.
There we go. Yeah. Excuse us while we do some business.
Come through Lately.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Great. Well, Kate, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm super excited to have you here finally. And you guys should check out on the Lately channel. Kate does this thing called A Day in the Life of the Startup Entrepreneur. You guys should check that out. She's just like raw and talks about her day, right, Kate?
I do. Yeah. My goal is I was a rock and roll DJ and a line cook, and I didn't go to a fancy school, and, I swear like a sailor. And so I really want women especially to know that, like, you don't have to go to Harvard and come from Connecticut to be a startup entrepreneur that's crushing the living bejesus out of it.
Awesome.
Love it. So are you originally from New York?
No, I'm from Vermont, where we do what we want.
Yes, for now.
All right. So Kate, tell everybody how they could find out more information about Lately, if they want to reach out to you, if they have any questions about Lately or anything else marketing.
Thank you so much. You guys are like double awesomeness. I'm so glad we had this opportunity, and I'm glad that we're friends on our other Facebooks and everywhere else too. Yeah, Timmy, you make me laugh all the time. So it's kate@trylately.com. Feel free to get in touch with me or trylately.com. And love you, whoever you are. Haven't met you yet. No, I already do.
Awesome. Jim, do you have any parting words?
Just thank you, Kate, so much for being with us. And next week, we have a very exciting guest. We have Brian Wallace. And Brian's going to be talking about those marketing mistakes that small businesses get sucked into when they first start out.
Ooh.
Cool. Brian is awesome. Can't wait for that show.
Cool. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Rock and roll.
Thank you.
See you later.
See ya.
Cheers.